Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rich Black Dog podcast. I hope you are doing well and I hope you are excited because we have another amazing episode lined up for you today. I am Claudia Pascal, your host, dentist, entrepreneur, and new growing, what should I say? I'm just excited because this journey of pursuing financial freedom is one that has been an increasing blessing in my life. The growth, the challenges have been real, but you guys, the blessings and the ultimate end that I see as a result of all of this is one that truly excites me. And what excites me most is the people that I am meeting in the process and whose stories are just adding a fuel to my journey and encouraging and inspiring me to keep going, because there indeed is more than me in terms of doctors who are looking to serve on their own terms, enjoy fulfilling lives, and create powerful legacies. And if that is your desire, you are in the right place, because everything we talk about in this podcast is about equipping us with that time and money freedom that's going to allow us to do just that. Today, I'm so excited for our guest. She is a friend of mine. We go way back to college. We did so much volunteer work and nonprofit work together. So some of our passions are really aligned. And seeing her have the courage that she has to step out and start a business. And not only that, you guys, start a business during yet residency. That was huge. I know it's not easy because I see the challenges that I have and the challenges of my husband who's in residency right now. And it's real, but she's been doing it and she's here to share her experience with us. And so I hope you are ready to take some notes, because this is going to definitely be a powerful podcast to encourage you on your journey. So with that said, I want to go ahead and bring on our guest, Dr. Jeanne Rolle. Come on in. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited, girl, because your journey is one that I'm excited to just learn so much more about. I kind of been watching you on IG, and I've been like, man, she has been killing it. And I still ask, like, I don't know how she does it, but we gonna find out today.
Okay, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. So everyone does not know who you are. So please, let's go ahead and kick off with you introducing yourself. Tell us what you do, where you living, or kind of who are you outside of your career, outside of entrepreneurship. Just go ahead and introduce Dr. Jeanne Rolle for us.
Okay. So, yes, my name is Jeanne Rolle. I am actually a physician. I just completed my residency in anesthesiology this past year. So, I'm working in North Jersey as an anesthesiologist. I'm originally from the Bahamas. Um, and my father is Bahamian, my mother is Jamaican. I spent most of my life living in New York, and for college, I went to Oakwood University, and that's where I met Dr. Claudia.
Whoop,
So
whoop.
that was, very much a pivotal time in my life. I got involved in a lot of volunteer work. That was where I realized that I wanted to become a physician, and from there, I moved on to University of Connecticut School of Medicine, where I got my MD, and then I moved to New Jersey and completed my residency in anesthesiology at Rutgers University.
Nice.
So I'm still here and enjoying it. I love the work that I do. I really enjoy my job, and I feel like it's one of the best decisions I've made.
Praise God. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you. That is so amazing, girl. Like when you look back and you see individuals who's like, we started together, kind of like trying to figure out this path and this journey, not
Yeah.
knowing where it would go, how we get there, and then to see us in that place, it really, it's like, man, thank you, God. Like, this is amazing. It's real. The possibilities are really like infinite, and I'm just excited because it's only the beginning,
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely. Only
It's
the
like
beginning.
we're just turning a new page and just going further up from here. So congratulations once again. I just want to say congrats because I'm so happy for you. I
Thank
really am.
you.
Yeah. So you kind of took us through your journey into your career. Tell us where entrepreneurship came into the picture. Like, did you grow up seeing entrepreneurs in your family, or what was it that exactly led for you to say, you know what, I think I want to start a business, let alone a side hustle during residency?
Funny enough, I did not see entrepreneurship while I was growing up in my household. Um, I didn't know what it entailed. Um, it seemed like something that was very far-fetched, and it definitely wasn't part of my original plan for life. Growing up, um, especially coming from an immigrant household, Caribbean household, the plan was just get good grades, go to school, go to college, do
Right,
well, become a
right.
doctor or a lawyer or something,
Mhm,
ideal like that. And so entrepreneurship was never part of that plan.
mhm,
And I would say that as I got older, like probably mid college, post undergrad, I started to um, acquire more interest in the topic of financial literacy and financial freedom.
mhm,
Okay. And I began to read books, watch YouTube videos, things like that.
mhm.
And one of the things that I learned was that having multiple streams of income was important, regardless of whatever you do, regardless of how much money you make. One stream of income is just not sufficient if you want true financial independence and financial freedom.
Yes, we could like rewind this part.
And not to say that if you only have one stream of income, you're just not good enough or anything like that, or not doing enough, but just, if you want that independence,
Mhm,
if you
mhm.
want true independence, you need more than one stream of income. So I kept that at the back of my mind, not knowing how that was going to happen. Um, there were different possibilities in my mind, but I kind of put it on the back burner because my focus was getting into medical school, getting through medical school,
Mhm.
becoming a doctor.
Right.
Um, so during medical school, I started my rotations, my clinical rotations during third year.
Mhm,
And I really enjoyed that time. I really enjoyed, especially being in the operating room because, of course,
mhm.
hey, I'm an anesthesiologist now, right? And one thing that I noticed in the operating room was, for one, you're only allowed to wear hospital scrubs in the operating room,
Mhm.
because it's a very, um, it's somewhat of a sterile environment. So you can't just come in with your own scrubs and put those on in the operating room. So everybody had on the same exact scrubs, no matter
Mhm.
your shape, no matter your size. It's the same baggy hospital scrubs in the operating room. And, it was very much a uniform. And it seemed as though
Mhm.
there was not much room for individuality
Mm.
with your uniform. But one thing that
Mhm.
I noticed was that people would show, a little bit of creativity and a little bit of individuality through their scrub caps, and I
Mhm.
thought that was so cool. You would
Mhm.
see people wearing like their favorite teams, or if they were in a fraternity or a sorority, you would see them wearing their scrub caps that said AKA or Delta or whatever, and I thought
Yeah.
that was so cool. And
Yeah.
I started getting into it as well, like hunting for cool scrub caps so that I could wear in the operating room and, match them up with my socks and, just my way of showing my individuality and creativity and stuff. But
Right.
then one
Right.
thing that I noticed that was missing, this was literally during third or
Mhm.
fourth year of medical school. One thing that I started to notice that was missing was that the scrub caps that I purchased, just didn't work well with my hair.
Mhm.
I would take them off at the end of the day and my hair would feel dry and crunchy. And I'm just like, this just isn't working. So one thing that I started to do, it was kind of short lived because I felt like this was like an extra step and just kind of an inconvenience, was that I would like tie my hair down with a satin scarf underneath my scrub cap.
Mhm.
And I don't remember exactly when it happened, but I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool to have like satin-lined scrub caps? You
Mhm.
know, like
Mhm. Mhm.
specifically for, women or people in general with textured hair, that tends to get really dried out, when it comes in contact with cotton,
Right.
and so that lingered in the back of my mind for a very long time. And I was like, that's something that I could see myself doing, because that's definitely a need. If I feel like I could use this, then I'm sure there are many other people just like me who could use this, And so, of course, during medical school, I felt as though I didn't have the time or the resources to start something like that up. I remember having a sewing machine, and I remember even going to a fabric store and picking things up and going online and seeing, like, how do you make a scrub cap, and I tried it out, and I made it like 1 or 2 scrub caps. And I was like, okay, this is definitely something that's doable. But I put it down, I put those materials away, like in a bin in my closet, and just left it there for like, I don't know, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to residency. I'm living in New Jersey, right? And this is probably April or May of 2020, like at the beginning of the pandemic. Everything's locked down. And it's just me going to work and coming home, not, seeing my family or anything like that, not hanging out with friends. And like all of my like social life is just non-existent, right?
Yeah.
So one weekend, my mom and my sister, who live in New York, decided that they wanted to come and visit me because they knew that, this was a very stressful and lonely time. So they came and visited me. And that weekend, we were just at home hanging out because there was nowhere to go. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I was like, Mom, I could use some scrub caps. And my mom said, I can make it for you. And I was like, well, funny enough, I have the material here, and I have this sewing machine that's sitting here. And just for background, I know this sounds like so random and so weird that my mom would say something like that. But my mom, she has the skill of a seamstress, even though that's not her full-time job. That's something that she's done for years, like as kind of a side thing, And I learned how to sew from her as well. Okay. But I'm not nearly as good as her. Okay. So I said, Mom, like I could use some scrub caps. And my mom said, well, if I had the fabric, I would make it for you. And I was like, actually, I have some fabric here that I had sitting in this like plastic bin for like, I don't know, 3 years or 2 or 3 years or something. So I took it out. I have my sewing machine, and she like right there makes me 2 satin-lined scrub caps. I actually still have one of them that I still wear every now and then. It's this one here. She made me this satin-lined scrub cap.
Wow. The original,
this is like literally the first one.
Right.
And she made it for me. And she also had made like a couple of masks to match. I don't have them anymore, but yeah. And so like I wore them. I mean, of course she made them for me, and I wore them to work and everything, and people were giving me like a lot of compliments about it. And at that point, the idea that I had in the back of my mind was kind of like reignited, like I do this because clearly this is something that people would be interested in, and it also fulfills like an actual need, because most scrub caps are not satin lined, and so it was something I remember when I first had the idea, and I realized that I didn't have the time and resources to invest in starting it up. I prayed about it, and I said, I feel like this is a great idea. I was like, God, I feel like this is a great idea, but, I just can't do this right now, so I'm going to put this on the back burner. I'm going to put it down, and I pray that one day I'll be able to pick it back up again, And at that point, I felt as though this was the time to at least try and pick it back up again. you
Mm.
know?
Mhm.
So I spoke with my mom about it, and I told her, I felt like this would be something cool that we can do together.
Yes.
And she agreed to it. And I purchased like the materials and things like that. And she started making them, you
Wow.
know,
Mhm.
and whatever money that we got from selling these scrub caps.
Mhm.
She works in a hospital as well, so she would sell them at her hospital, and then people would come to me at my hospital
Wow.
and, you know, put in these personal orders and stuff.
Mhm.
And whatever money we got, we would just like reinvest back into the business, you
Mm.
know? And it
Mhm.
kind of got to the point where um, my mom could no longer keep up with the amount of orders that were coming in. And
Wow.
it was just like at this point, I was like, I don't really know what to do, like how do people find manufacturers, like do I
Right.
even have the capital to do this on a larger scale?
How
You know,
fast did that happen? Like from when you started to the point where it's like, okay, this is going beyond your production capacity.
hmm. So I would say we probably started in May of 2020.
Uh-huh.
I would say by August.
Mm.
Yeah, probably August 2020. It was just like, okay, we are not keeping up with what people are asking for, and it's taking too long. This isn't a
Right.
full-time job for either of
Right.
us, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
It's something that we're doing on the side. And,
Mhm.
it was going well and stuff, but it was just like not sustainable.
Right. And
So
how were you marketing? I'm curious. Was it just from people seeing it and then once they compliment, you kind of slide in and say, I can make you one? Or did you like intentionally like post, say, hey, if you want a scrub cap, I got you? Like, how did that volume of demand like go so high so fast? Like, what were you doing?
it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
So I was wearing my scrub caps. My mom was wearing the scrub caps. And
Mhm.
then, like, at the hospitals that we worked at,
Mhm.
um, it would just get popular through word of mouth, you
Mm,
know?
I see. Yeah.
People would buy, and then someone would ask them, hey, where'd you get that from? And then, and then
Yeah.
I remember we made like little business cards so that anytime somebody would, you know, order one, we would give them a
Yeah.
business card and say like, hey, if somebody, compliments you or asks you about the scrub cap, give this to them and
Yeah.
tell them this is how you can get it. So
Right.
that's how it started. And then I also started posting on my personal Instagram with me wearing them and saying
Mhm.
like, like, check out my scrub cap. My mom made this. Hit me up if you want one.
Right.
So it was just like very simple,
Yeah.
just very simple grassroots kind of
Right.
thing.
Yes.
Um, so that's kind of how it started. And we knew that, like we wanted to make it something more
Mhm.
and, do it on a grander scale. And
Mhm.
then also, one of the positive things about residency, well, my particular residency was that we rotated at multiple hospitals. I think
Ooh.
during my residency, I rotated at 6 different hospitals,
Wow.
so it's like, it's not just that, people saw me at one hospital
Yeah.
and, those people there purchased, but, I would rotate to another hospital and then somebody would see me wearing the scrub cap and ask me about it. And,
Wow.
like I was able to
Yes.
tell them about it, and then I rotate at another hospital. And so like a bunch of different hospitals that I rotated at in New Jersey, like
Mhm.
people would learn about them
Right.
and order and then tell their friends about it and then they would order and then it was just like, okay, this is great, but I don't know how we're gonna keep up with this.
Right. So
And
what did you end up deciding to do to make it sustainable so that you didn't have to say, okay, I can't handle this. Let me just shut it down. Like, how did that look for you? Because I feel like that's one of the things that sometimes may make someone apprehensive about pursuing a side hustle, whether it's during school as a student doctor or while residency or even in a career. It's like, what about the time and the demands? Like, can I keep up? So what for you helped you to say, okay, I'm not going to give up on this passion of mine, but I also need to make sure it's sustainable in terms of allowing me to continue to focus on my career and life as a whole. So what did you end up doing to provide that solution?
that's a great question. And I'm definitely the type of person that doesn't want to start something that I feel as though I can't finish.
Same here.
And so I had to, take an honest look and say, okay, I'm in residency. I'm working on average like 70 hours a week. Like, is there really room to do this?
Right.
And so one thing I'm so grateful for my mom. This business wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for her. Like, yes, I started it and people know me as kind of like the face of the business, but it's truly like my mom who's helped me to be able to sustain it and keep it up. And so, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to be too much of a burden on her as well. So before it began to get overwhelming, and of course, I would always, touch base with her and make sure that, that whatever she was able to produce would, I wouldn't go over selling that, or making promises to people like, oh, you can order 5 scrub caps and it'll be ready next week, when in reality, that's not sustainable for her, So I always, made sure that I was staying in close connection with her to make sure that she wasn't feeling overwhelmed or anything like that. And on my end, looking for other ways to make this more sustainable. So I honestly didn't know how to go about, looking for other ways to make something like this more sustainable, as far as finding an appropriate manufacturer. Like, where do I go to look? Do I have to make these, like, get these like from China or something? Like, I don't know.
Right.
And what would it cost me in the long run and in the short term? Because everything that we were doing to start this business up, like, it was coming out of my pocket, or the income that we got was just being automatically reinvested.
Right.
And so, funny enough, I started Googling like, manufacturers.
Yeah.
And just for context, specifically my brand, our satin-lined scrub caps, the majority of our patterns and prints are like African wax prints. Okay.
Right.
And so that was kind of like another hurdle when it comes to finding like a manufacturer that actually produced that type of stuff. And so I just started Googling and looking things up, and, I wasn't really getting anywhere. But throughout the process, I was praying about it. And I was like, God, please help me to find a manufacturer.
Right.
Things like that. And then one day I was on Instagram and, I'm like, is this God or is it just Google? Them like,
right. Just pop up.
Right.
That is so funny.
But I was on Instagram and I saw an ad by a woman who was basically like a small business coach, but her niche was that she was a small business coach for people that had African fashion brands.
Wow.
And I was like, oh,
very specific.
That's very specific and very interesting that would pop up on my on my feed. So I was like, okay, it's not 100% exactly what I'm doing, but I think that this would be interesting to look into. So I started following her, and she had some digital products that she was selling. And one of them was an African vendor list.
Wow.
Where she supplied you with a list of vendors or manufacturers in West Africa that produced products that were made from African wax fabrics. And I was like, okay, wow, this is cool. This might be just what I'm looking for. And the list was the digital product was probably less than $100, and so I was like, I'm going to pay for this. It's going to be worth it if it works out, And so I started inquiring with different vendors and things like that. And from there, I found two vendors that I really liked. And I started communicating with them. And from there, I was able to start what I would call mass production of a small business,
Right.
you know?
Right. So just to confirm, you decided to reach out to this coach and then you invested in her services and she's the one who allowed you to link up with the vendors now.
Exactly. And that was how we were able to transition from my mom hand making these satin-lined scrub caps to us being able to get them manufactured and produced and basically sold on a larger scale.
Wow.
Yeah.
And since then, you just been continuing on. So would you say right now, like your mom is completely free of having to like produce the scrub caps and you are just now sending the orders to the vendors? Like, what does the dynamic look like for you now?
So my mom is still very much involved in the logistics of the business. So she no longer hand makes the scrub caps, but as far as the logistical aspects, such as ordering and packing and shipping, she helps me out with that because I literally just was not able to do that during residency. And she has a more predictable schedule, whereas mine was just very, unpredictable, and residency had to be the first priority and things like that. So she's very much still involved in it. And, it has proved to be a blessing because it has allowed for the business to keep going. But in addition to that, it allowed me to do something to help my mom. I don't know how exactly to put it, but, I think sometimes as like us as Caribbean kids, that are growing up and our parents bring us here and you see them struggle and work hard so that we can, do well and get an education and things like that. And it's like, you want to be able to pay it forward to them and, figure out a way to, ease off some of the burden of, financial hardship. And I think one of the biggest blessings that has come from this business was that through it, I've been able to be a blessing to my mom, or rather this business has been able to be a blessing to my mom, and she has been able to be a blessing to me, by helping me to sustain it in ways that I physically couldn't, So I'm really, really happy about that.
Wow, that is amazing. So is she still having to work, or has she been able to like start getting into retirement mode because you now have created the income of this business?
So she is still working, and this is something that we, somewhere down the line, I'm hoping and praying that, we can slowly start to move towards retirement. But, she is still working. We are still a small business, and it is another stream of income, but currently it's not enough to completely, replace the full-time job.
Right. So do you see yourself growing and expanding even more? Like, do you see that potential, or do you feel like you've reached your max in terms of like income?
Funny enough, that's a great question. I do see myself growing and expanding. The question is, I'm not exactly sure how, as far as, what steps to take and, what checkpoints do I need to make sure I have before I scale to a larger, to a larger point. So I'm currently at the point where I'm trying to figure that out and see exactly how do I go about scaling
and growing. Would you say it's a matter of like systems, or would you say it's a matter of funds, or is it both?
It's definitely both. It's definitely both. I would definitely say that. I definitely would want to be able to have the capital to invest more and also create the systems that are necessary. Because right now this is still very much a 3-employee business, so it's myself, my mom, and I was able to add on my sister as well,
Nice.
to, you know, to maintain the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but like I said, I'm still learning.
Yes.
I jumped into this not knowing anything
Right.
about starting or maintaining a business and just kind of
Right.
learning as I go along.
Right.
So there definitely needs to be more focus on educating myself as to what are the next steps and
Mm.
what systems need to be developed and built before I begin to scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I ask those questions because I feel like there's probably someone listening who's wondering the same. And you never know. Someone who can help you scale but with those systems and funds might be listening as well. So
Yeah.
meditate, you'll be able to know how to contact Dr. Jeanne if you feel like, oh my gosh, I love helping small businesses like Dr. Jeanne's grow. Listen, you could definitely reach out to help make it happen. But I ask because I feel like that's a question that many of us may be facing in our small businesses, or questions that we fear, and which is the reason why we don't start. But I love your story because you show how it's okay to start even if you don't have it all together,
Right.
right? Like, start with what you have, start with what you know. And for you, I feel like, it's two things that really helped you to like make that move. One, you committed long before that even happened to saying, hey, I need to create multiple streams of income. I'm not going to be relying on my career alone, no matter how much money I can make, because I'm not truly free if I'm relying on one career or one source of income. And
Right.
then with that commitment stuck in your mind, you realize the need, right? You realize a need and you was like, hey, there's a solution to this. Like, if I want this, more people want it. And then you started getting the evidence that people wanted it and you followed that, right? And so you didn't talk yourself out of it by saying, nah, but I don't know this, I don't know that, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait. You started. And as you kept going, the solutions kept coming, right? You didn't know how to do it, but so you put it away. But then your mom came in, you picked it back up again. And then now the demand got high. Boom, prayed, found a coach, and then now you got your vendors. And I feel like you're at this space now, Jeanne, but the same is going to happen. The same way you found a solution then in all those other points, you're going to find it again now to be able to scale and to grow, And
Yeah.
so I hope that people who are listening see this and hear this and are encouraged by your journey, because that's how a lot of businesses start and grow. A lot of the big businesses out there that's sitting in the running the stocks, it started small and it started with someone who had a vision and a passion and was determined to see it through. So something that I take away from yours is to, like, don't give up, get help, right? Like, don't give up on it, just get help and keep doing that as you go. And make, when you need to, pause and reassess, like, how can I make this sustainable? Like, don't forget the other things that matter, your life, your well-being, the individuals you have involved as well. You were thinking about your mom, thinking about yourself. Okay, we don't want to wear ourselves out, so how do we pivot, how do we change? So realizing that just because something may seem impossible with our work schedules, it may seem unattainable, we just can find a solution for it, right? And it's just a matter of thinking about it. When we put that thought in, then we'll find it. And so I love it. And then you invested in a coach. Listen, we have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get to our careers, right?
Yeah.
So this
Hundreds of
right,
thousands.
right, hundreds of thousands of dollars and hours of life, right, to get to our careers. And I have been learning in my journey of the importance of doing the same for our financial freedom journey.
Wow.
Like, we have to realize that the same way we were so set on our careers helping us achieve our goal of serving, our goal of impacting lives, and therefore we was willing to take all that debt, make all that sacrifice to get it, is the same energy we could put towards our financial freedom journeys, where we say, okay, I want to create these additional streams of income. I want to make these investments that's not only going to help me in my life now, but can help generations to come.
Right.
How can I make it happen? What's the education that's going to help me make it happen? Who are the people? What are the experiences? And if we put in that same, just a fraction, right? A fraction of the investment we put in for our careers, if we put that in for our financial freedom journey, listen, we all about to be free in no time, right? If we was
You
able
are so right. Oh my gosh. That is such a great perspective. And I never thought about it like that.
Yes, yes. So it's all about the mindset shift. And that's why that's like one of the main goals of this podcast, is realizing like if we just kind of change our perspective, shift our mindsets, we will begin to realize and start accomplishing so much more, which kind of transitions to like the next phase or next half, I should say, of our podcast, where I want to hear, like, you've kind of shared about it a little bit before, but what were some of those mindset shifts that you realized you had to make during this journey to help you keep going? Whether it was changing your mindset about money, because clearly you were spending your own money, right? Some people are like, I'm not about to spend my money to start no business, but you were willing to do that. And just a little plug for everyone who may be listening. There is funding for small businesses, okay? And you can access funding. If you're like, I don't know where to look, DM me. I can plug you in with lenders, because my husband and I have had to connect with so many, like, we've been looking for how to keep our business growing, and we've been able to connect with lenders, and we know many other people. So once again, don't give up, just get help, and let me know if you need it. But going back to your story, Jeanne, you was willing to make those sacrifices and make those moves to help you keep your business going. And I would love to learn, like, what are some of those mindset shifts that you feel like you needed to make to keep going?
That is a great question. So, as I mentioned earlier on in the discussion,
Mm-hmm.
um, I began to be more interested in financial literacy and financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I began to learn more about the importance of delayed gratification, and um, also just um, just being careful about how you spend your money. And also a major component for me was debt freedom as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. I feel like the debt freedom thing is a little bit nuanced, but when I think about debt freedom,
Mm-hmm.
of course, there are different types of debt,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, certain forms of debt are used for good to propel you to where you need to be, but also remembering that at some point this needs to be taken care of so that you can have the freedom that you need to move on to your next step.
Right.
So for me, starting off on this journey of starting my own business, I knew that I had to take a look at myself and also my habits and the type of person that I was.
Mm-hmm.
I I felt a lot more comfortable knowing that I was investing my own money as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to borrowed money into
Mm-hmm.
something where I didn't know exactly what direction it was going to go.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so um, not to say that I had a ton of money to invest. I really started off small,
Mm-hmm.
probably I want to say probably less than $2,000,
Mm-hmm.
um, where I started off, and then we would take our profits and just go ahead and reinvest. Like
Right.
probably for a solid year,
Mm-hmm.
even probably even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a lot of taking the profits and reinvesting, taking it, reinvesting.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, I felt a lot more comfortable doing it that way because I wasn't exactly sure how this was going to turn out. And I also knew that I didn't have um, as much knowledge and as much resources to like, just completely go all in. So
Right.
for me, I decided that I wanted to start off slow and
Mm-hmm.
just build very
Mm-hmm.
slowly,
Mm-hmm.
as I was acquiring knowledge and information and resources.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I decided to do. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, for every person, it may be different. You may, have access to investors from the very beginning. I
Mm-hmm.
personally just because I didn't know much about
Mhm.
this whole realm of
Mhm.
starting a small business and
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, I decided
Mhm.
that I
Mhm.
was going to hold off.
Right.
You know, at this point, I probably would be more comfortable with, you know, borrowing capital and reaching out to investors and things like that.
Mhm, mhm, nice. So would you say like one of the shifts you had to make mentally was, okay, I have some money for myself finally, but instead of like putting it all towards me, I'm going to put it into this business because I see the potential of this business. Would you say that's something that you kind of have to say, okay, let me keep delaying this gratification a little bit more just so that I could get this business going because I see the potential of it? Would you say so?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
you know, I don't even know if delayed gratification is the word
Mhm.
because, um, like, even right now, as I'm, you know, trying to make financial moves and I'm not, you know, spending my attending money,
Right.
you know, buying fancy cars and all of these things. I feel gratified right now. I feel
Mhm.
gratified that I can, you
Mhm.
know, pay
Mhm.
off debt and I can invest and
Yes.
I can save and, you know, I can build like a year-long emergency fund or 2-year emergency fund or, you know, things like that, things that I've always wanted to do, even
Mhm.
though it's not necessarily being manifested in, you know, the type of car that I drive right now or the
Right.
house that I'm living in. It's like
Right.
I feel gratified even
Absolutely.
now, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
because it's like
No,
I've been
I hear
wanting to
you.
do this for years
Yes.
and I'm finally being able to do that.
Yes. Yes. No, I feel you 100%. And you know, it's something I talked about in like one of my earlier episodes in the podcast where I was talking about how you know, we can't afford to struggle, right? And I
Right.
was seeing how if we change our mindset, like, you know, for some of us, we're like, I cannot be struggling. Like, we don't want to settle for less now, right? It's been too long. We don't want to struggle. But if we kind of shift and realize, hey, like, technically, I'm not really struggling because I'm setting myself up to be good, like to be set, you know. And if I redefine what struggling is, it won't even feel like struggling. So what you're saying is you wouldn't even call it delayed gratification right now because you don't feel like you're delaying anything because you are fulfilled with what you are doing. And for
Exactly.
someone else that may be different because they attach that fulfillment to those other things, which is completely okay. And that's one of the things I
Definitely.
express in my podcast is that life is our own to live, right? Like God has given us this gift and he's like, hey, you go and be fruitful and live that abundant life. Here's what I desire for you, right? And we go and we pursue that. And even with this financial freedom journey, it's not a one set way. This is how it has to happen. This is how it has to go. We make it what we want. So if we say, look, I want to enjoy now and then worry about XYZ later, do it, right?
Exactly.
If that's what aligns with you and the goal you want to get to, by all means do it. And if for someone else, it's like, you know what? Actually, I could wait for that now. Like, I rather like go hard now and enjoy it later. And that's the beautiful thing about like financial freedom, even the fire movement. Some people they hate the fire movement because it's like this struggle life, ramen noodles and struggle forever. I don't know if you're familiar with that, like if you heard those stories, but it's like a huge turn off. And especially for us, I resonate for us in our spaces. We're like, look, I've been living that life my whole life. I've been in school my whole life. I've been struggling my whole life to get to this career. You're not gonna tell me to struggle some more when I got money coming in that I could use. But it's like think of it like FIRE, right? That's why I say think FIRE, right? So financial independence with the option to retire early. So just
Yes.
giving yourself the option. And no, you do not have to be on ramen noodles and struggling the whole time to
Oh,
get there.
absolutely not.
You make it what you want it to be. What matters is that we stay committed to achieving that goal when we want to achieve it, realizing the sooner the better, at the least to get to financial freedom, the sooner to, excuse me, at the least to get to financial independence, the sooner the better, because we never know what can happen. And in case this is your first time listening to this podcast, I'm number one case in point on how things can change really fast because just 2 years into my career, I had to take a step back from my health, right? None of us really planned for that. And that's why, you know, I'm even more of an advocate now for at least trying to achieve that financial independence sooner than later. And being able to know I don't have to work to earn, right? Even though I'm a high income earner, I'm not relying on this one source, because if something happens, I don't want to be stuck, right? Especially if you've created a lifestyle that requires a lot of money and that got you living paycheck to paycheck with your big paycheck. So, it's all about making those goals and deciding what's the best way for me to achieve it. What do I want to achieve? When do I want to achieve it? And what's the best way for me to go about it? And realize that it can be a gratifying experience, especially when you think about what you're creating for yourself and for your future and for your family even, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what you're showing right now, Jen. Like, your legacy's already live. Like, you got your mom, your sister, right? She's your younger sister, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's looking up to you like, wow, Jan done started a whole business. She's making income in addition to her career. Like, girl, I'm sure your mom is so proud of you, and I'm sure you're giving her so much hope in life, right? So this is beautiful, and this is what it's all about. So listen, let's get. We could go on and on. This is what happens every interview. The conversation gets so good, and it's like, man, we could talk about so much more. But
Yeah.
I want to ask you another question as we wrap up. If you was to start your journey all over again, would you do anything differently?
Wow, I have to think about that. Would I do anything differently? So when you say start my journey all over again, starting from where?
That's a good question. Because it kind of started with you making that commitment to pursue financial freedom, and then you actually started to like take steps. So I guess when it comes to the actual investment, so when you decided, okay, I'm gonna create satin-lined scrub caps as another source of income, when you decided to make that start, right, to say, let me create another source of income here, would you have done anything differently from that?
I don't I don't think I would have done anything differently, because like I said, I was honestly learning as I was going along, and being that this was something that was also started in the middle of the pandemic, or rather very early on in the pandemic. And honestly, like, work was, pretty stressful. I found this to be an amazing outlet, to focus my energy outside of work and things like that. I don't think I would have done much differently. I can always say I wish I had taken more time to educate myself on entrepreneurship and, things like that. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't really know that I had I had the time to do that, And I literally just tried to do the best with the knowledge that I had. So I don't think I would have done anything differently.
Yes. And that's completely okay, right? And I think the beauty in that is showing, like, even though the journeys are not always perfect, when we look back, we still see that it was worth it. And it was still like a process that was worth going through and necessary to go through to get us to where we are and where we want to be. So I guess another question I could ask for someone who maybe is thinking about starting their own brand, their own product, maybe getting into like fashion, e-commerce, what is one thing you would recommend to them to consider doing as they start or as they continue to go?
I would definitely say invest not only in your business, but invest in hiring somebody to guide you. I mean, we touched on it earlier on in the podcast, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's like you're just kind of flailing around trying to figure things out. And early on, a lot of us, we don't really want to invest money, but when you don't know what you're doing, you don't even realize it, but you might end up losing more money than you probably would have if you actually just decided to invest in somebody who knows more than you do.
Absolutely.
Invest in a business coach. Of course, vet them, because there are a lot of these business coaches on Instagram.
Right.
Vet them, make sure you can, speak to people who have worked with them, read reviews, things like that. But, find somebody who's worth investing in and invest in them. Let them teach you, let them guide you, let them give you the step-by-step. And so I would probably say that that's something I probably would have done differently earlier on. Now
Right.
that I'm thinking more about it, is that I probably would have, even though I did find somebody who was a small business coach, I didn't invest in the one-on-one. And I think I probably would have wanted to do that.
Absolutely. Makes
Like to do it
total
all over
sense. I
again.
completely agree. I do. Man, so to get to our wrap up session now, our short and rich recap, I have 3 questions that I like to ask at the end of every episode. I changed it up a little bit. And so you're going to be the first to get these round of questions, but I think they're going to be great. So I'll ask the question and you can just briefly reply. And this will just be our final gems that we're just dropping for our listeners and viewers here. So here we go. What is one book, podcast, or individual you have found helpful for your personal development on this journey?
Wow. One book, podcast,
Or
oh man,
individual, like
or
either or.
individual on this journey. Wow, I'm thinking because there are like so many things that like I dabble from. Hmm. I mean, of course, I really do enjoy this podcast. Another podcast that I really liked that I used to listen to a lot in medical school. I don't know if you ever listened to it. It's another physician podcast. It's called Docs Outside the Box.
Yes, I do.
I love that podcast.
I do listen to them.
And I used to listen to them from med school. And I don't know if you know their story, the husband and wife, Dr. Nee and Renee Darko, I believe.
Yes.
But like they committed to paying off like over $600,000 in student loan debt in like 3 years together. And I was just like, that is crazy. And of course, you know, as we spoke about earlier, personal finance is personal, you know? So of course you want to do what is best for your personal goals.
Exactly.
But I was just like, the fact that they took that huge of a goal and stuck with it for that period of time and like just knocked it out. I was like, wow, these people are the real deal. So I love their podcast. I listen to them pretty often. They always have, you know, inspirational stories and people on there that, you know, share about their journey. A lot of it is, you know, financially focused, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep. I hope to have them on here one day. So in case you're listening, I look forward to having you on the podcast.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So Docs Outside the Box podcast. So listen to podcasts in general, grateful. And thank you. I'm so glad you found my podcast helpful.
That's
prayer.
It's a real like boost and inspiration, you know, sometimes when we just, you know, don't feel like doing this.
Yes. Praise God. Praise God. Okay. So the next question is, what is one thing you think we current and future Black docs especially need to consider if we're hesitating to invest more towards our financial freedom? So if someone's hesitating, dragging their feet, what's one thing you would say to really think about?
I would definitely say, particularly for doctors, it's not fully like in the forefront, but I think the landscape of the healthcare industry is constantly changing. And I feel as though physicians, you know, are not necessarily a priority when the whole landscape is of the healthcare industry is changing. You know, I hear a lot of physicians who've been doing this for years, for decades, say, you know, how much autonomy they've lost over the years and things like that, you know, insurance reimbursements, things like that, you know? So I look at that, and even though I personally cannot feel it because I am very new to this, I'm very new to being an attending physician and, you know, working and things like that. I'm keeping that in the back of my mind, and I'm remembering that when I think about the reality that what I want is freedom. And what I want is, as you mentioned, the option to retire early. I don't know if I'll actually retire early. I really do enjoy my job. And, you know, at this point in time, things are great, but who knows, 15, 20 years from now, it might be, I might just have different priorities,
Yeah.
And so I would advise, especially for Black physicians, to keep that in mind, work towards freedom, work towards multiple streams of income, so that if you decide that you want to retire early, or at the very least scale back from being a full-time doc to someone who maybe wants to work 2 days a week, you have the option and the freedom to do that, because you have multiple streams of income. You're not tied down by loads of debt that you feel like you need to have like some consistent steady income to consistently pay off, or anything like that. So we talk about delayed gratification, but if you shift your mindset, it's not necessarily that you're delaying gratification, but you're just looking out for your current and future self. You're doing something that your future self will thank you for. So I would say one of the best ways for doctors, physicians, doctors, dentists, everyone to experience true autonomy and true freedom is, like just being financially free, People talk about having like FU money. I'm sure you've heard that term before.
Absolutely.
And I am so 100% for the concept, where you're so, financially okay that you're able to just get up and walk away if you need to.
Yeah.
And not say that I'm only here because I can't afford to leave.
Absolutely.
You want to always be able to afford to leave if you have to.
Absolutely. And just to echo what you say, it's like, if it's not aligning with you, why force yourself? Why put yourself in a position where you still have no choice but to stay in something that's no longer serving you, or that's not allowing you to really do what it is you want to do, or have what it is you want to have, or be what it is you want to be, like who you want to be. And so I love the fact that you mentioned how we have to really remember that though we may enjoy our work situation now, that may not be the same 5, 10, 20 years from now. Right. And we don't want to be in a place where we have to now settle and compromise ourselves or our lives, our legacies, whatever it is, just because we don't have the money, Right. And so I love the fact that you highlighted that fact. Like, it's very true. And the last thing I want to say is finish this statement. It's not just about the money. It's about blank.
It's about the time. It's about the freedom. Like, it's really not about the money. Freedom is being able to do what you please with your time, and it's about the legacy. It's about the people that you love, and not having to watch them struggle. It's about peace. And I feel like all of those things together is what contributes to my peace personally. It might be different for someone else, but for me, those are things that I think about.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So, girl, we could just like shut down right there, but I think you just ended that off so well, and just reminding us that yes, we are pursuing that money, because we live in a capitalist country where without money, you cannot have all of those things that Dr. Jeanne just literally listed out are valuable to us and are important to us. And so that is why we are pursuing this ability to say we are financially free. We are not having to worry about money, working for it, worrying about it, because we've secured that and now created this ability for us to focus on who and whatever it is that truly matters to us, including our careers and things far beyond that. So right. I just want to say thank you so much. I don't know if you have any final closing remarks. You have to tell us about your scrub caps, where we can purchase them. I have mine, and I know I want to go shopping and get some more, even though I'm not clinical right now, but I'm getting there soon. But please tell us, where can we get your beautiful satin-lined scrub caps, and how else can someone connect with you?
Okay, so you can get my scrub caps from theprettydoc.com. So that's theprettydoc.com. We sell scrub caps there. I believe I gave you
Yes,
a
don't worry, I'll
discount.
let
I
them
cannot
know.
remember off the top of my head, but
I'll let them know. So this she's talking about members. So if you have not yet subscribed to our emailing list, if you have not yet said, hey, I want to stay in the loop for Rich Black Doc, now's a good time to join because Dr. Jeanne has hooked us up with a special deal. So I will be sending that out to everyone who is subscribed. But yes, you guys will get a special deal from Dr. Jeanne. And I thank you so much for that. So
of course.
prettydoc.com. And what else is it for us to reach you?
So my business page on Instagram is Pretty Doc Scrub Caps.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to reach me personally, you can reach me on Instagram at the Pretty Doc, just like how my website is, the Pretty Doc. You
Awesome.
can find me there. I'd be glad to connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I cannot wait years from now where we'll kind of be closer to being free or free in some sense to where we could kind of get back out there and keep serving some more together. Cause I remember we did some amazing things back in college and
Yes, you did.
I'm so excited to be able to do it more, but to an even greater capacity. And so I'm cheering for you. I'm so excited for you. And I'm excited to see your business grow. And I'm excited to see your mom retire soon through your efforts and just all of that. So I look forward to connecting with you some more. We'll definitely be keeping in touch. And thank you so much once again for your time. I really
Of
appreciate
course, thank you. And I thank you so much for what you're doing to inspire not only me, but many other Black doctors out there. Your work is just amazing, and so
you.
keep going, keep pushing. And I really appreciate what you're doing out here. Like
Yes.
just kind of like opening the floodgates of possibilities for people who never thought that certain things were, doable or possible. So I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and your support. Thank you so much. Everyone who is still here, I am so glad that you have stayed to the end of this episode because I'm sure you agree with me that this was amazing. And we definitely could have gone on and on and on and went down even deeper into all of the amazing principles and gems that Dr. Jeanne shared with us from her journey. And it is my hope that you will take what you gathered from this episode, re-listen again if you have to, reach out to Dr. Jeanne if you like to, reach out to me if you have any other additional questions that I can help you with, whether it's from my knowledge or whether I could find more individuals like Dr. Jeanne. Let me know because this is what I am here for, to bring us the information, the network, the resources that's going to allow us to truly achieve that financial freedom that will allow us to serve on our own terms, enjoy fulfilling lives, and create powerful legacies. We not only have the potential to change lives through our careers, but we can also change legacies through our wealth, through our freedom. And it is my hope that this has inspired you to keep pursuing that for you, for generations to come, and for all the communities that you will be able to bless as a result. So if you have not already subscribed, please do so. Follow. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Rich Black Doc. Our website is richblackdoc.com. And you guys stay tuned because we have so many more goodies to come, more masterclasses to come, more amazing guests to come, and any and everything else that's going to be a blessing to you on this journey. They are all coming because I'm determined and I'm like, Jesus, we're going to make this happen. Okay. Because we're going to live this abundant life you want for us so that we can also give abundantly for more people to also enjoy this abundant life. And so thank you for tuning in. And I'm so grateful for all of you who have been supporting us thus far. Please continue to do so, share. And as always, please do take good care.